Good morning. My name is Ahtziri Gonzalez, and today I'm interviewing Eugenio Ambrosi, who's the regional director for the International Organization of Migration here in Europe. He's a migration expert who has worked for IOM for more than 20 years. As a senior regional advisor for Europe and Central Asia, and as a director general in the IOM's headquarters in Geneva. And as a young leader in the international development field, I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to have a chat with him about migration in Europe and EU-Africa relations. Maybe we could start with me asking you a question about legal migration. What do you think the issue of legal migration and mobility between EU-Africa is important for Europe and for Europeans? And how do you think we can get people to listen to the importance of this legal migration when the political climate is not so favorable?
Well, I think, first of all, good morning, and thank you for this chance of having this chat. The reason why legal migration is important is because Europe needs migrants, needs labor migrants, needs a diversity in their labor forces. Demography in Europe is going down, and therefore very soon, according to European statistics themselves, we will have important gaps in the labor markets across the Union, and those gaps will need to be filled. So at the same time, it's important for Europe in order to tackle their own shortage in the labor supply chain, but also it's important for Africa and for country of origin because that can reduce the pressure of unemployment and a series of other social and economic issues that are arising more and more in Africa because their demographic curve is exactly the opposite and is increasing at a very fast pace. Now, how can we get people to listen? That is, I think, $1 million question in a way. I think the main point that we tend to overlook when we talk about the current political climate is that the current political climate did not fall from the sky. It's not that one day we woke up and we had that political climate around us. We have contributed to creating it. All of us, the politicians, the media, probably the operators in the humanitarian and development sector, by not always using the right discourse, not always using the right way of presenting issue. And by doing that, especially when talking about migration, which is a divisive issue almost by definition, and is a challenging issue because it's talking about people coming from abroad, the foreigners, which ancestrally it's a difficult concept sometimes to grasp with. We have contributed to creating an environment of fear, of mistrust, and we need to change that. We need to start acting more responsibly at all levels, from the top political leader down to the most humble person in the chain. We have to start passing the right message, the correct message, first of all, and not the messages that are flashy, that catch the attention but have no substance or no truth to it. There is no room for alternative truths when you talk about migration and migratory experience. And we need to slowly manage to make the political environment more and the public opinion environment more conducive to accepting diversity, because there is no alternative to embracing diversity. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Because you are a migrant yourself.
Yeah, I'm originally from Mexico.
You are from Mexico, you live in Brussels. Now, in your experience, personal as well as your professional experience, what can you tell us would be the most important contribution that a migrant can give to the country he or she is living in and to his or her country of origin?
What you said is very important. Europe needs migrants, and migrants contribute to the economic development. It's not only demographics, with aging population and low birth rates, that the labor market needs new people, but it's also like migrants come with new ideas, they have talent, they promote innovation, entrepreneurship, they create even more jobs for Europeans. But also, as migrants integrate into the European society, we create more multicultural communities. And this is good as we become more tolerant, we become open to new ideas, different ways of saying things. And for me, this is a very important process. Whenever, as you said, I'm a migrant, and whenever people come and tell me something against migration, I talk about my case. It's perhaps not the best case, but at least it's the one that I know the best. I mean, I'm here, I came as a legal migrant a couple of years ago. I work in Belgium, I pay taxes, I consume, I volunteer for a couple of NGOs. So when I put my case bluntly in front of people, they hardly can find any arguments against me being here. And the same would go for 20 million other migrants that are already in the continent. But then why can't we just give the opportunity to other people to also contribute to society, to also come, make a life here, and support the European economies that need this kind of boost? And well, for the communities back, I mean, the migrant communities, the diasporas, also keep links to the countries of origins and can be catalysts of development. It could be through networks or just by sending remittances. These remittances are sometimes the basis of the livelihoods of families that are left behind. But also in other cases, they can potentially finance development projects that can support rural communities, well, urban and rural communities that are impoverished in these countries of origin. So I think for both recipient countries and countries of origin, migration is a win-win situation.
I think that is not only extremely interesting, but very much to the point. And I think these are some of the the real life experience that are not always taken into account when policies are developed or when migration issues are discussed in high-flying settings. We sometimes forget that migration is a word that means real people having real life experience on a daily basis and bringing real contribution to societies on all fronts, origin and destination. And I think to bring back this constant reference to we are talking about people, it's essential, and it's what sometimes is forgotten.
Exactly. And actually, I would like to hear your opinion as well. I just attended IOM's event on legal migration. So it could be good if you could talk more about why you think it's important to create these means of legal migration, and how, if this can help us manage migration in a better way.
There are several reasons, I think, why legal migration is an essential element. The first is because it's a commitment already. The European Union in its common agenda for migration, as well as in the Valletta declaration, political declaration of the Valletta process, and in a variety of other policy documents, has committed to advance the opening up or legal avenues for migration. So there is a commitment, and therefore it's important that we follow in Europe, we follow through with that commitment. That's the first point. The second point is because the absence of enough legal migration channel is what is creating the majority of the problem we are trying to tackle right now. It's creating the problem of irregular migrants arriving in Europe because the lack of legal channel leaves the irregular one as the only one available, is creating and providing the market for the smugglers and the trafficker to do their business and get rich on the skins of migrants, and is creating also security risk. Because the more irregular immigration you have, more irregular movement into a country or a political space like the EU you have, the more submerged portion of the population you have, and therefore less control, and therefore more insecurity. So in fact, one single element, legal channels, would help us tackle a variety of issues that we are trying to tackle separately and on an individual basis, and not necessarily in a very effective way. And this is beyond the economic consideration, what we were mentioning before, the lack in the labor market, etc. I think it's a question of political intelligence to be able to actually tackle a situation starting from what actually the real needs and solutions are, rather than what is popularly more acceptable, like closing borders, sending them back, boats in the seas to stop them from coming, etc.
Totally agree with you.
Now, following really on this, again in your experience, because you are living the experience of migrants, as we said, what do you think we should be doing as both as government, as international organization, as social society groups that are active in migration? What would have helped you in your migratory experience to actually feel more comfortable, feel safer, feel more successful, or achieve better whatever objective you had set for yourself?
Well, having a first would call policymakers and the people working in this issue to try to understand migration better. I think it's a very complex phenomenon that cannot be addressed with a single policy or with a single simple solution. We really need to try to understand all the range of causes of migration, both in the countries of origin, but also in the countries that are receiving migrants, and trying to decipher these little elements to make policies that are more flexible and adapt to all these situations. Second, I think we really need a change of mindset. Now, everywhere in newspapers, we see this crisis, this alarm rhetoric. Well, actually, migration is an opportunity. And I think if we start seeing this as, like, what can we do with migrants as a whole, as a society, we can start coming with more proactive solutions. And well, as you said, legal migration is crucial. We need to make migration safe. I mean, I was lucky to come here as a legal migrant, but many are not, and many will put their lives at risk crossing the sea. We need to put their security first. And well, once migrants come into Europe, I think we need to try to integrate them as soon as possible. Recently, I did some volunteering in an asylum center here in Brussels, and I was really shocked to meet children that had been born there, and after years they were now in school age. They were still living there. You know that their life is interrupted, trying to see which country will take them, where there's need of people like them. So I think we need to try to reduce administrative burden. And find ways of making these people, making all migrants find a job here, go to school, and try to have a normal life, an integrated life as soon as possible.
Well, I think it's obviously all very true. Integration is one of the biggest challenges, I think, that we have in Europe. It's probably something we have been, if not overlooking, not treating or giving the right level of priority. And of course, the safety of migrants, not just when they arrive, but also en route, is paramount. I think it's sad that we wake up to the issue of safety of the migrant on their journey only when some shocking picture hit the news. We resumed search and rescue operation in the Mediterranean after we stopped it a couple of years ago, only when the famous picture of the 3-year-old Syrian boy dead on the shore of Turkey came online, and that's what changed a lot of people, including politician minds. I think we need to have a different approach to these difficult issues.
Finally, making the link with the SDGs, as this is an SDG studio. In your experience working for IOM all these years, what recommendation would you have to people who want to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals? How can they become more active to help us achieve the Agenda 2030?
Well, especially if we think of the younger people or the younger generation, I would say 3 words: engage, be responsible, and be knowledgeable. Engage because no issue that are treated in the SDGs, from migration to climate change to ending poverty to all the other aspects, it's far away enough from anybody. We are all touched by the result of not tackling this issue. We are all touched by the result of not ensuring equitable distribution of resources, of wealth, of improving and fostering development in regions that are still in need, etc. So the need to feel part of a common global community and the need to engage. That carries the need to be responsible and to assume responsibility for the same reason. What happens to anybody, anywhere in the world, touches me, touches my life, even if I am thousands of kilometers away. And there is something I can do to either advocate or mobilize resources or mobilize conscience. And no, be knowledgeable, because we are too much in a period of, if not alternative truths, superficial truths, where decisions are taken on the spur of a moment based on whatever has hit our imagination or has shocked us. I think we all, and the younger generation even more, have more and more responsibility to ensure that we know what we are talking about, that we know what the issues are, and we know what is it that we are proposing or advocating for, and we know how to counteract all the negative movement or advancement that you might have or see on certain issues, for example, the xenophobic, when not racist movement that are proliferating in Europe. We need to have the argument to counteract that, and to have the argument we need to assume responsibility of knowing what we're talking about and putting them forward.
More than ever, we need global citizenship.
We do. I don't know how close it is. We still have too many borders in the middle of it, but I think at least starting to feel part of a global community. It's already, even if it's not global citizenship, but at least a global community, I think is already a very important step forward. And I hope the younger generation will teach us a lesson to achieve whatever it is that we have not really been able to achieve as yet.
Hopefully it will be our generation.
Well, it's yours, not mine. You are the young one, I'm the old one.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
your
very
time.
much for this exchange.